Spoke is my selfish pursuit to soak up some of the genius of my guests and to also serve the closet nerd inside me. I've created a safe space for humor, sarcasm, science, and insightful, uncommon conversations. As humans, well, we're all deeply flawed, and we will make tons of mistakes on this podcast. But while we will learn from them, and maybe even learn something new, we're mostly here to have fun. So join us. This is Spoke, where gray matters. Hello, this is Bhargavi, your host. So I was warned about my next guest not allowing me to speak, but I obviously underestimated these warnings. We were only able to start the podcast after 6 attempts of me trying to introduce him, but it just turned into this really funny exchange, so I've left the whole bit in for your entertainment and my embarrassment because why not? And I also want to say that there really isn't anyone else I would have rather had as my first guest, so brace yourselves and enjoy. My guest today is India's original political lampooner, and where most others have failed, he has lived. Whatever prestige he collected being the great
Yeah,
grandson of a knight, he has lost for being a half breed. But
that's
he's
true.
now a strong advocate for other mongrels.
Okay, listen, I'm a little worried. You started with the word lived. It almost implies that, one should have been killed. And in the kind of times we live in, I'm a little worried now. So maybe we'll use a more vegetarian word. Survived. Not even survived is sounding arrogant. Still there. Still there is good enough.
Still
Still
around.
around. Yeah, yeah. It's like
Okay.
an old boil or a pimple that, you just can't get rid of. Or keloid. My generation, keloids were big. Now I think you guys just don't understand keloids.
I have a keloid, so I know.
Really? So, Bhargavi, what's the difference
Yeah.
between a keloid and a boil, since you know so much?
A keloid is basically because you have too much collagen in your
Okay, your
system.
answer is too scientific. I have to stop you right there. Okay, mine was basically a size thing, so purely aesthetics. Fair enough.
A keloid can be any size,
My God,
literally.
this is a bludgeoning. This is not an interview. This is bullying. I'm going to go talk to my union rep.
This is why I can never go under the knife and get surgeries because I'm genetically prone to
You
keloids.
think?
I think no, I know because I've had a surgery on my hand and that's how I
Yeah,
know.
but you're so young. Imagine what it's like at my age group, where you just think of surgery and a keloid appears. It's like that. Hmm.
Okay, so I will start again with more friendlier.
No, no, don't be ridiculous. Don't waste your time with introductions. Who cares? Whoever's listening,
Introductions are very important to spoke.
but they're listening to you, not me. These are your people. They're like, Bhargavi, Bhargavi. I can hear them in the background. Everybody's screaming, Bhargavi. Who's that old man next to you? No, stop.
Okay, so I will add it in later on then.
No,
We
no, no,
can
no, no.
start.
Please do your thing. I'm just, don't pay attention. Go ahead. Do your introduction 5 times.
Fine.
What do I care?
Okay.
I'm
So
told
my
Adolf
guest
Hitler liked a
today,
very lengthy one. If you want to go back in time, before he entered, he always had somebody talking about him for 15 minutes. So
I think that's a nice way. I'd like that.
yeah,
Like a
I'm
little
saying
bit.
fascists of the world have liked introductions. I notice when I do events, for example, certain CEOs and all are very cool with first name and quick introductions, and some give you biodata which is like bigger than the event. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right.
Anyway,
It is. Though this is like kind of clever because I don't want them to guess who it is before I bring you on. I mean, I want them to keep guessing. I don't want to just feed it to them.
okay. So I won't say my name is. Okay, all right.
Okay, so may I, with your permission?
Yes, you may.
Okay. So my guest today for the millionth
Dun,
time
dun, dun,
is
dun.
India's original political lampooner, and where most others have failed, he is still around. Whatever prestige he collected, being the great grandson of a knight,
You're doing
he
the
has
same thing
lost
again.
for being a
That's
happy.
hilarious. Oh, sorry, sorry.
Oh my
Please
God!
go. Please go. Please keep going. That's fabulous. Yeah,
Before we recorded this, I literally said, "Don't interrupt me."
yeah. I'm so sorry. Go on, go on. This is fun.
You
This is
will,
what podcasts are all about. I just wanted the intro for the rest of my life. Yeah.
you will speak now next once you hear your name. How about that?
Okay, done. I'll keep quiet. We
So
carry on.
my fucking guest today is India's original political lampooner. Where
Yeah.
most others
But-
have failed, he has
Yeah.
survived.
Yeah.
Whatever prestige he collected being the great grandson of a knight, he has lost for being a half breed. But he's now a strong advocate for other mongrels. He keeps his intelligence under wraps, unlike his legs, and disguises it with jokes, like his legs.
Hmm.
A buffed history buff whose brain and mouth are in an eternal race for time. He's only worked in the industry for around 35, 40 years, so he's a bit of an amateur, so forgive him if we can't keep up. But hey, let's at least try and tolerate him. God knows everyone else does, and I am right now. Cyrus Broacha, welcome to Spoke.
Oh God, Miss Joshi,
Yes,
this is
we
the
did
fourth.
it.
Let's not lie. This is the fourth time you introduced me, and I've lost interest in my own self. Nobody should have four introductions. Not even the prime minister. Who does that?
And it's all your
Yeah.
fault.
But anyway, I think it's perfectly put. Everything you've said is completely correct. I have no equity, no status, no position, and I've my family name is spoiled. So all these things are true, and in a way, good. I've glamorized them from the beginning. So
I think it brings a certain kind of unique humility to you, which is very
yeah,
rare in
yeah.
the
It's
industry.
reverse humility. It's actually terrible hubris, but nobody sees through me. So I continue in this.
But thank you for spending your Sunday morning with me. That is very kind.
Fair enough. That is a painful option for yourself, but uh,
Hey, I woke up at 5 this morning.
yeah, but we've been through that offline. Now my life is such. People who don't wake up early always find it amazing when you tell them you wake up at quarter to five. They go like, "Wow!"
Because I was shocked. Remember at your office, I'm like, why
You
the
were
fuck
sort
would
of
you wake up
shocked. You were
that
sort of
early?
shocked.
I was in
But
shock.
it's not really that big a deal because if you change your body clock to 5 or 4:30 or whatever, by
It's
day yeah,
amazing.
I know by day three it's just so normal. But for the other person, because they can't empathize with the whole idea of whatever waking up early, but it's really nothing. It's just changing the maths. So you get up at 4:30 instead of getting up at 7:30, or when you're a rock star 11:30. See, I don't drink anymore, so for me, it's the whole thing is about the alcohol. Since I don't drink anymore, I don't see the point of staying awake because the night was for drinking. I thought,
What is the point of living?
isn't that what Mike Pence said today earlier to Donald Trump, and immediately started with a double. Poor guy. Yeah.
So, how has the pandemic been treating you?
Well, now we're in a very adjusted phase. This is hopelessly mean to say and insensitive, but I think the first 3 4 months were more about how's it, how do you deal with this and
Figuring things
figuring
out,
things
yeah.
out, and the entire process was different for different people. But now, the moment I started doing, I did a show on I can't mention the portal, whatever the OTT platform because it's Amazon, and then
Mm,
one more which is Netflix. So I don't mention these guys. So once I
right.
did that, and you get into that professional sort of, lots of people involved. We had like we're supposed to have only 130, so I'll say only 130 people on the set, and it all becomes sort of normalized whether you like it or not. People fall like flies left and right, COVID, but you just carry on. So
Right.
I've just carried on. It's just the way it is.
You've almost had like a reverse lockdown effect though, because everyone was stuck at home with nothing to do, and you suddenly got super busy
Well,
working.
I understand. That's why I think I should become a union leader. I'm very good with labor, and because I'm a little bit left of center, I'm very good with people who are not in great positions. I hate management and I hate authority,
Mm,
and it's there. I couldn't stand the cops. Okay, in the first 3 months, I've only thought evil things about them because I just couldn't understand the bullying nature. It's more the way, not what they were doing, but the way, and perhaps not just Mumbai cops worldwide. Just the talking down to citizens and banging their sticks loud and telling you not to walk your
yeah.
dog and things like that, which I just couldn't get my head around. You
Yeah.
know, but it's anyway. Now forgive and forget. We move
I don't
on.
know. Maybe you've also been whoring yourself out to everything, including coming on this random show.
Did you use the word whoring or boring? Because of my age, I can't hear.
Whoring.
Oh, okay. That's that wasted W. That
Yeah.
word just goes above the Indian populace normally. Because W kahan se aa gaya? We don't have that concept. We have a kishitage and we sometimes have heretic, but by and large, we don't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. So I just went the other way. I have a reverse psychological disorder thing. So when
Hmm.
people are scared, I feel brave. When people are brave, I feel scared. It's like that. So I just enjoyed the fact that everybody was paranoid and sending scary messages and always wanting to sit at home. So I stepped out, walked my dogs 5 times a day. Me and my daughter, intrepid girl that she is, fixed the once I realized the gym is a problem. Got some stuff, put it on the terrace, got on with that. So non-professionally, everything was going really well. Then this professional crap started, so I had to start working
Mm.
again.
Oh, well,
And
poor you with like actual jobs and work and money coming in. Oh, it must suck.
yeah, that's what. So I do miss the freedom of not working. But I
Mm.
only work for money. I got to tell you, I have no interest in work.
That's what I think most comedians become comedians besides being funny.
No, those are my type of comedians are basically social failures and hence become comedians. But there are many of them who actually aspire to be comedians, and they're
Yeah.
horrible people because they think of it as a science and as a proper craft, and they sit and work really hard and long hours. Why would you work long hours if you want to be a comedian? You just spoil the entire tribe.
I don't know.
Uh,
Maybe they spend most time writing though,
yeah,
most
they spend too
no?
much time, but that's also because they can't spell and all that. There are all kinds of reasons behind it. But I hate professional comedians. They irritate me after some time. The
Well,
ones who
you
spend
are
all
one
night.
now.
I'm just trying to earn money. As you use the word with the W, which is not pronounced. So I'm more that. I would do anything. I just shot something for a app here on Friday. I shoot the week that wasn't on Thursday, the show that we normally do. I've got a daily podcast now because we have more than 2,000 listeners, so we've gone daily.
You
So
said 2000?
yeah, some I don't know, maybe 1,500. I don't know. A lot of them died during COVID.
Yeah, maybe because I thought it was a lot more.
Yeah, perhaps it is a lot more, but you know me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are your
Uh,
5 dogs? I had no idea you had so many dogs.
Well, I don't have because we are egalitarian. So dogs that live with us, there are two, Mary and Peter here, and there are three in Alibag, whose names are Sheru, Julie. Oh God, what's the third one called? Sandy. That's right.
Yeah.
And then, if the wife allows, whichever dog passes through is always welcome.
And for all the
Yeah,
listeners, who's probably one person, all of these
yeah,
dogs are adopted. Aren't they the
yeah.
best?
They all what's the word? Rescue dogs, in a sense.
Rescue.
And but what we do, not to sound like we're great karma and doing great work and all that, but we have a sign outside saying "Foreigners and dogs welcome" in my property.
Okay.
Implies, who's not. I
Right.
won't take names.
Go for it.
Yeah,
I said there's nothing banned on this show.
no, no, that's fair enough. It's simple maths. They can eliminate, get to it.
Self preservation, yes.
There you go. Yeah, I do enough damage on my own shows. No, so let this be your legal issues.
Okay, so speaking about dogs, though, I recently complained on my WhatsApp group about this dog owner who walks his dog in the society, which is totally okay, and I, in fact, fully support. But every single morning, he leaves a giant fresh shit right outside the entrance of my building.
That's really disgusting because they spoil our names. Here I stand with my bloody papers and collect everything, and I have two dogs to clean in the morning. But I just wanted to point out that in my area, because so-called rich people live, they employ dog people. I don't like to use the word servants. I think it should be outlawed. And dog people then have to walk the dogs, but many of them feel it's below their dignity. You know how it is in India. This whole thing about
I know, absolutely.
so I'm saying dog poo is your thing. You're the dog owner. You clean the poo. The other walks you can have that guy do, but the dog poo walk I think you should do. And it's ridiculous because a couple of watchmen walk other dogs and the help who walk other dogs around us. None of them clean, and we were just one or two people in the whole lane who clean. This is I don't know what to do about this. Just me and my
Why? Why? Why do they do this?
because
Like,
they just get the animal, but then they don't invest in the animal at all. After that, there's no relationship except for patting the dog here and there. They don't do that one or two
that
walks.
is true. That is what I was trying to
So
change,
they
actually.
probably do that with their children. The help take care of the children. Children speak the language of the help more than they speak the language of the whatever. Until they reach a schoolable age, they're completely influenced by the help. I know lots of kids like this, and this is a rich upper middle class sort of problem in the big cities, for which I think parents should be caned. You should allow
I think
caning.
so.
You put
Yes,
your mother or father over your lap and you cane them 10 to 15 times
that
because
is
the
gross.
dog. I mean, why do you have a dog if you do nothing with the dog? You can't just come home, the
Exactly.
dog jumps on
You
you and you
can't
pat
just
it
be
twice. It's going
involved
to be
in
more.
like just
Yeah,
the fun parts.
yeah.
Exactly.
Hello, poo and all is also fun part. It drives me nuts if they don't. You know what goes on in our chats here. If the morning business is not completed, the world it's a debacle. The world collapses.
It's gross and it's so disrespectful.
It's not
Jeez.
disrespectful. It's also a lack of, and this is a problem with us as Indians. We just don't care about the other people. The lack of empathy, the lack of understanding of other people. That's why we throw the garbage out. That's why
Yeah.
everything is thrown out of the window. But our rooms are clean and our kitchen is clean, our house is clean. But the down part, the landing is terrible. It's the same thing with the dog poop or with anything else, or kid poop. I've seen kid poop also, by the way.
But you're leaving a piece of shit there literally waiting for someone to
Yeah,
step into it.
forget that. Who's supposed to clean it? Who
And
is
those same
supposed to
people
clean it?
have stepped in dog poop, so like even that doesn't sort of, light a bulb.
It's like a cultural thing. How to explain to them that this is their responsibility, and it's not that difficult. It takes me 4 seconds to scoop up. I don't even use those fancy scoopers. Since we still read print newspapers, I just use the old papers. So every day I keep
Yeah.
like two long papers in my pocket. So for any eventuality, the only place I don't
Yeah.
do it is at the Oval, which I take them almost every day. So there it goes back into the soil, so it's fine. And mostly they anyway do it right in the corner area where there's lots of it's recycled soil. You need the poo there. The poo grows.
No, no, no. That is actually a misconception that they think it's fertilizer for plants. It is not. It's actually toxic for plants.
Bhargavi, let's fight right now because the guys who lay the pitch, I know exactly what goes into it and the surrounding areas. Trust me. Yeah,
The pitch, I don't know, but it's not good for
yeah,
plants.
yeah.
But actually, they're in the majority, these people, because they did this experiment in the UK and they said they found out that people would only pick up after their dogs if someone was watching or if there was some sort of
No,
punishment
but
as
in
a
the West,
consequence.
I think they do it, don't they? The pooper scooper and all that.
But that's what I'm saying. This was like a test done in the UK, and they found out that most people don't pick up after their dogs, except if someone was watching or there was a punishment or good old, fashion social shaming.
Yeah. Well, that's news to me because whatever I've seen in the States and Britain, I've always seen them carrying their stuff and doing it.
Yeah, I think
But in
it's still
India,
a minority, I guess.
yeah, in India, definitely. And the sad part is in the lockdown when they got rid of all their help because they wanted to preserve their own lives. Which lives matter and poor lives don't matter. We have our own thing going. So you took
Right.
everybody out to save yourself. Even then, you didn't walk the dog. You found somebody else from somewhere to walk the dog. It's just ridiculous.
It
Absolutely
is
ridiculous.
ridiculous. Like, how do they not have that connection? Like,
They don't have.
my
They
cat to
just
me
don't have.
was my baby. Like, I would do anything for
Exactly.
him.
Mine is a reverse ego. I don't want you to touch my dog. It's like guys who want their BMW driven only by themselves. It's a bit like that. So
Yeah.
my thinking is a little warped as well. But just reasonably interact with the dog. You have a time to yourself. You have no business to go to. Nothing. Still, no walk. Not even in the evening.
I
It's
had a
quite sad.
friend nurse in Canada, and she has a cat and a dog, and she trained her dog to use the litter box because it's too cold outside, and he did it. So he would go into the balcony and just poop in a box.
Yeah, that's a bit ridiculous. But I think if you can do it, do it. What the hell? As long as you come up with a solution.
But I think like dogs need the exercise also. That's almost form of, the
Yeah,
time they get.
you're looking at normally the two big walks, the morning and the evening. Surely you can do that much, or at least one of them, and your wife do the other one, or whatever. Come on, it's not that much. 15 minutes, 20-minute investment in the day. Why is the dog there? Makes no sense. And then the same thing happens with the kids and everything else. The selfishness of one's existence just continues. You actually do
Yeah,
nothing. Just paying for it means nothing. Whatever.
exactly.
Yeah,
I
so,
didn't take a vacation in 14 years because of my cat.
but you're hardly 16 yourself. Okay, fair enough. Where's the cat now?
He passed
Oh,
away
I'm so
3 years
sorry.
ago
This
from
is in
cancer.
America or in India?
I brought him to India, and then he died here because the vets couldn't figure out what happened to him.
Vets
And
can
I
never
met
don't.
every vet from like the north
Uh,
to the
yeah,
south,
they
everyone.
It's don't start me off on the vets. Yeah, they don't really know most.
Oh, I probably share your. I did most of the research myself.
Anything serious, maybe it's not their fault because the dogs and cats don't communicate, but I feel they go up to a limited point for shots and things like that, maybe for injuries. But other than that, honestly, when there's a proper illness and it's just they have no idea.
Yeah, I don't think there's any deep.
Yeah,
That's true. I agree.
yeah.
But what is your message to the dog people? Because you're a celebrity.
I've been telling the help all the time. But I don't get to meet these guys, and I only know the help now. Walking all my life, there's always the help, and I keep telling them, "Aapka boss ko bulao ya Mister, Mrs. ko bulao, whatever you call them," and they smile sheepishly, but there's no communication that goes forward. So I keep
Hmm.
telling them,
Maybe after like the end of each of your daily podcasts, now you say pick up your dog shit.
yeah, but those aren't the people listening. The people listening are
There
detached.
are dog owners who listen, of
So
course.
mostly people in Yerewada prison, I've been told. That's what we got
Okay.
at the moment. But yeah, and it's not that easy. It's a whole behavioral change. They'll say yes, they'll agree that I must do it. They'll do. It's like coming to the gym. They'll do it twice.
And then when no one is watching, then they won't probably do it.
Yeah, but that's the wrong. That's like not breaking the signal because the cop is there. I mean, it's like that. What's the point?
Exactly.
It's pointless. The thing
And
is,
hadn't the BMC started like some rule against dog poop in South
BMC's
Bombay?
hands are with COVID. BMC's hands are full. Okay, I think that right.
No, but before the pandemic.
They did, but in a population like ours, it's difficult to establish having police or whatever vigilance over all the people all over. And more importantly, it has to come from the person or for a it's every day, maybe twice a day, all year round. How's it going to happen unless
No,
the
yeah.
people
How
have
much policing can they do? I feel like we have to self govern at some point, but I feel like Indians don't do that unless they're watched.
absolutely it has to come from the person. And I'm just very disappointed with owners in upper middle class cities, especially. Maybe not Delhi is better than Mumbai because I tend to see more people walking their dogs when I'm there. But here it's just in my area, Malba Hill, Walkeshwar, Marine Drive, it's all help. It's
Mm.
ridiculous. At the over where we go, whoever comes with the help comes with their dogs. They don't even come there to this open air. And I'm talking about pre-lockdown. Forget lockdown where they don't come at all because they want to live and let the help die. That's another story.
But what a lovely subject to start this
Yeah,
wonderful
correct.
morning with. So, you had said at one point that Parsis are known for their ability to laugh at themselves, and yet somehow y'all chose to settle in a country where people absolutely cannot. So, what, according to you, is a sense of humor? Is it nature or nurture?
I didn't say that. And B,
You did. I saw the video.
okay,
It
then
was a
I
stand up.
did say that, but Alzheimer's is set in, also Parsi disease. And I don't know, I think in India the problem is that as you get successful, you take yourself far too seriously. So it's more the problem we have mostly is in our area, of course, I'm talking about urban India, is a lot to do with the fact that people when as they get rich or successful, they take them seriously and laughing themselves is the problem. I'll tell you, we used to do bakra. which is a candid camera show on, let's say, economically less privileged people, and I had no
Right.
trouble. Okay, once I explained the concept. Are you there, Bhargavi? Have you slipped
Yes,
off?
I am there. I'm very
So
much
once I
listening. I'm not interrupting you like you.
oh God, okay, lesson learned. So once I explained the concept to them, they were very, nice about it, and not a problem ever. And then, we got calls from, the rich, or what should we call them, the urban middle class, and they wanted to do gags on their friends in corporate settings and all that. And every time
Hmm.
after we've done the gag, they sort of said, "Don't air it" and stuff like that, because suddenly they're worried. And somebody took offense, and it's like two worlds.
Hmm.
When you go up in class, it's like everybody's like, "Oh God, now what? We can't do this. Yeah, it won't look good. His mother will watch it. His parents will watch it." Granted, one of them was really bad. I remember where a guy tries to, put out some other girls, and he's married and stuff, and it's all on camera.
Hmm.
That was horrible to air.
Yeah, that's more of a sting
Yeah, yeah,
operation.
yeah. So that they backed off. But yeah, but having said that, I can see the difference. So maybe it's just we have to, even in the club that I go to and all, we have this terrible official which we are all hoping we get rid of finally. Um, that officiousness, I think, is a problem. We need to remove the formality and the officiousness that comes with people taking themselves seriously. Nothing turns me off more than formal people, officious people. Dear sir, this is to remind you. I hate that. Please come and talk. I can't just come and talk to someone. This is to remind you, apropos our topic. I mean, come on. It's so ridiculous. Are you a 14th century medieval monkey? Okay, monkeys are lovely. I'll take that back. Although they can
Monkeys
be
are
quite
love.
savage as well.
But
Right.
nature or nurture? How do you think, like, what do you think sense of humor is?
I think both, because if you're in a concentration camp and you're going to die anyway, you can find something to laugh about. That's probably a bit of both, isn't it? Because you're forced to find the funnies just to get through life. Yeah, I don't know. People say you're born funny and all that. I don't know about that. Yeah, I find a lot of people who are exposed to more funny people or funnier people, excuse my grammar, they tend to get a little funnier themselves. Because I notice, I don't know if this happens with you, but if you're a little cocky and cheeky, most people, if they know who you are, they try to be like you, so they ramp it up. They talk in that
Mhm.
suddenly they which is a good effect, I'm saying.
Contagious,
Yeah, when
yes.
that happens, so they also what is the word, regress, or they become more irreverent. But the moment you're not there, then they go back to being this really official.
Well, it
I'm
hasn't rubbed off on my mother yet, so I don't know.
Let's leave the parents out of it, because they have dreams and ideas about who you should be, and when you're not a doctor at the end of the day,
Oh, I am such a disappointment to my mom.
exactly. So let's not, but maybe one day they'll be proud. Who
But
knows?
you're right, it has been debated by scientists for the longest time. And I'll give you a little interesting thing here.
Oh,
There
right,
is
it's also a
actually
science show.
something.
I'm so sorry.
Yes, this is something. There's something like a funny gene. It's a certain genetic variant of the gene 5-HTTLPR, which
Yeah,
sounds like a URL to comedy.
yeah.
But they discovered that those with short alleles, now each gene has two copies known as allele. You get one from your mom, one from your dad. So
Radio.
they discovered that people with the short alleles were seen to smile and laugh more in an experiment than those compared with longer ones.
Yeah,
But the nurture side of the argument that scientists have, they said that humor was in fact nurture and not nature. So they did something called a twin study of humor, where they observed identical twins who have 100% of the same DNA and fraternal twins. And they found that fraternal twins shared more similar traits and preferences to humor than identical twins. So it has to be both, because we know the environment influences us and definitely genes do as well.
well, I just look at my good friend Kunal, who has no funny gene. There's just no funny gene. He's so ultimately serious that sometimes I wonder how we became friends now when I look back. Because I call him up and he says, "Where are you?" And I say, "Seventh Road." And he's just perplexed. He never thinks that Seventh Road could be South Rasta. Just and after knowing me so well, I have these inane conversations where I just tease him out of it's brutal savagery at its best. I just go on and on, half
I
answers,
know.
and keep him in a conundrum. And he's just so serious. He's never breaking into the whole "let's just have a silly moment here" thing. So yeah,
Well, he's more balanced. I guess it's
yeah,
you
he's
know.
got the long what's it called, alio or paleo, whatever the hell it is. I
But
mean,
where
like,
do you
really
get your
long.
sense of humor from? Do you like, is it nature nurture or an accident or your dad or what?
Well, my dad is, well, no, my dad's a bit of an introvert, actually, when I think back. I don't know, it's difficult.
But you
I,
can be funny and still be an introvert.
no, of course, yeah, yeah, of course you can, 100%. But I'm not
Yeah.
thinking, no, not really. Surviving my family was funny enough, because my dad wore a lugi and a sadra and walked around, so he looked, I don't know what he looked like. Then I started wearing the same thing. So I mean, we look like a tribe from some other world which is trying to Indianize themselves. And yeah, it was horrible. my mother's Hindi growing up. I mean, exposed to that, so that when people made fun of my Hindi, I'd be like, please, just come home and listen to her. Don't. That's not fair. I've come a long way. I'm huge. I'm a Sanskrit scholar next to her. It's just nonsense.
Right.
Uh,
But any of your any of your parents like funny though?
that's difficult. Not Bill Burr, if you're asking me that, but. My mother's quite gregarious and fun-loving, but she's never made me laugh intentionally. She's like Kunal. We laugh at her because of who she is.
Accidentally then.
Yeah, when she says things like "Piche se phone karo" and all to the person calling, which translates into "call from behind." Those are beautiful moments. So in that
Okay.
sense, yes, she's funny. Or right now, for example, with COVID, now what 10, 11 months on, my aunt normally spends the Saturday night and stays with us, and hasn't been allowed to stay with us on her Saturday night still. And but
Hmm.
she comes and spends the whole day on Sunday, including sleeping for a couple of hours in the afternoon with my mom in the room. So I tried to explain to my mom the science, since she was a science show, that look, if she's here 16 hours on Sunday, why the hell can't she be here overnight on Saturday? Yeah, this. I remember watching this thing on BBC when they told the British, the government came up, UK government came up with this order saying that you have to shut the pubs at 10 sharp, before the second lockdown. And the guy was
Meanwhile,
explaining very correctly. He said, does it mean that at 10:01 the virus appears? Is because that's the correlation we are getting, that you've got this 10 o'clock exact cutoff, because at 10:01 you expect things to be terrible. Up to 9:59 we're great.
exactly.
There's really no
The
logic.
logic is
It's
off.
just psychological, isn't it? That we're doing something, but the something is not good enough. It's not correlated to actual specifics of what you can do. I don't get it. I really don't get it. By the way, as we speak, as we are taping this, Shubham Gill has just edged the ball past Steven Smith and should have been caught, but they took out the second slip. What do you think about that? Where's your science now? Oh,
I know nothing about cricket.
lovely. Beautiful way
Okay.
to segue.
But I just want people to know, coming back to the humor thing, that science has established that it takes a certain higher than average amount of intelligence in order to be funny. In case anyone doubts you, because you like to play the fool. And even Karan Thapar, I remember in that interview that he did with you, he
Wow.
said it
Where
takes
did
an
you dig
awful
that up?
lot of intelligence to play the fool. How old were you? Like 30?
Karan was 30. I was like 6. That was years ago.
You look six, but
Ouch.
you have mastered it.
Yeah.
It's
The age
impressive.
thing? Yeah. That's not funny. Yeah. When your organs fall off every day.
But when women say they look for a sense of humor in a guy, they're actually drawn to a man's intelligence. So I hope men out there are listening.
Don't start the woman story with me, man. I got, like, I have no luck with the ladies. And now I'm happily, quote unquote, married. So, it's all done and dusted there. But
Didn't you write some like horribly reviewed book? Because I haven't read any of your books, but I've read
I've written
all the
4, and
reviews on
I think they've
Amazon.
all been horribly reviewed. Um,
The
I,
reviews are very funny.
yeah, I don't know which one you're talking about. But if you're talking about the
The
one about
23 and a half ways of,
to put out chicks, to
yeah,
use
yeah.
politically correct words. Yeah, but that honestly, there was a little grain of truth in that, in the sense that I have been writing these columns for I don't know how many years now, where one has to, and we had a show called Love Line on MTV with the lovely Malaika, and then
Malaika, I
Swati and
remember that.
the works. The point is that we had to listen to all these stories, and even growing up with the boys around you, Indian men are just horrible at approaching the women, and horrible at understanding the dynamics of romance. Now, I'm not saying I'm an expert, but there's something which is just ridiculous. Like, the stalking, for example. If you like a girl, you can't just follow her at a bus stop. A guy was saying that, I like this girl, I see her at the bus stop every day. It's not my bus stop, but I go and stand at her bus stop just to see her. I mean, you don't do that, because if the girl finds out, I mean, firstly, the father will shoot you if he finds out. And secondly, I mean, is that the way to begin? 99%, your creeps will.
Yeah, what emotion are you trying to elicit?
That's what they don't think it through at all. And
Yeah.
then the other thing is trying to they want to reach the end before the beginning, and that's just a normal
What is
occurrence.
the end?
The end is, I want to be in love
Like
with this girl
sex
and
or
her to be in love with,
marriage?
no, yeah, exactly. I want the whole 9 yards, but at the moment she doesn't know your name, so you don't want to start with greeting.
You're just a shadow.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to start with anything. You want to go straight to the end result. It's like 36 Chambers of Shaolin. The whole film was about, he tries to go to the 36th chamber first. He's all cheeky, and then he gets, the humility dawns on him because he can't cope, and then he comes back and starts again. But here it's always like, they just reach the end. How do I get her to fall in love with me? It's a step by step process. It's very unlikely that in 5 seconds across the room in chemistry, boom, she loves you. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. But I think like a big problem with that thing is basically the confidence that men are born with. I never understood that because a woman should be like, oh my God, I'm so ugly. Oh my God, my face is this and my head is that, my body. But a man is like, No matter how fat and ugly he is, he's like,
Yeah,
that girl, I
but
want
but,
her.
but is it confidence or bravado? Because I
I
think
don't know, but where does it come from? Because they have this. That's why it's like
is
entitlement,
it a
right? They
false sense
think
of
that
self, or is it a trick that they a ruse that they try that I'll just act overconfident so they buy it? That's the
I think
question.
it's thousands of years of men just having it
I'm not
easy.
a fan of men, so please, I can't stand them. Other than the fact that I'm forced to be one, I can't think of any three good reasons. Firstly, I'm appalled that we have to still say God is male. I don't get that. Who decided that? Especially,
You can't do that in India when there's so many female
yeah,
goddesses,
okay, that's
right?
okay. Let's go back to the monotheist religions. Why does God have to be male? Why can't God just be God?
Yeah.
Why does it have to be his name? His name. It's never her name. How do we know? If anything, the
Maybe
maternal.
now I think we can have this conversation today because people are opening up to different genders and sex.
I'm only having this on your podcast because I believe you're slightly enlightened and we can get away with this conversation. We started with poop, we end with God. I think that's perfect. Talk to God. DOGGOD. There you go.
We're covering everything. But tell me, what is our problem with humor as a race? Like,
Humor is not the problem as much as humors. You're talking about critique. So when the humor is on the person, that's the problem, more or less. A sense of humor now, that's a very subjective thing in any case. What is funny, what is not funny, blah blah. But not being able to take a joke, that's definitely a problem with middle class India and
that
upper
is,
middle.
but like I remember you said when you say someone says your mom's a whore or makes a joke on
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then you get specifically offended.
yeah.
But then there are groups of people getting offended by just jokes.
Yeah, that's just emotional reactions. They don't think it through. So you ban this so and so's book, and they don't even read the book. For example, you can't just ban it. And
That's
this comedian
true.
who's spending what he's still not got bail, Munawar Faruqi. Are you
Yeah.
following that story?
Yes, yes,
He
of
went
course.
to Madhya
That was
Pradesh.
going to be one of my questions, but I decided not to.
Yeah, no, no, no. Come on, it's ridiculous. The guy's telling a few jokes, and you will treat him the same way you treat someone on the Tada or Fera, one of these draconian rules, laws where you just lock the guy up for no reason.
Absolutely. Most of our laws are very
Well,
outdated and need to
apparently
just
they've
scrapped.
tagged all kinds of other laws or
It's
things.
295A.
The charges are breaching social conduct and all during COVID, etc. So it's
But
it's
that's pretty common in India, right? Like comedians are constantly getting slapped with cases, and I have
look,
a solution,
look at the hard.
possible solution for this.
Yeah, it's the hard work that the organizations who are running that area go through to actually put him in the net, in a sense, which is we'll find this law and that law. I mean, that's ridiculous, really.
It is
It's just
ridiculous.
a young comedian
But
doing a.
what if, tell me if this will work, and I don't know if it's legal in India, but what for every single time a comedian gets sued, they countersue for like violation of his freedom of expression.
Mm.
And then every single time that happens, maybe people will think twice before,
Yeah,
filing
but
an
then what you're
FIR.
thinking of is a very strong and fair judiciary. Is that really there? Will it happen? Because before you reach.
No, but at least it will put them through the trouble of having to go to the court, having to go to the police station, and all those things that
Yeah,
no
but
one
for
wants to
that,
do.
the what
It's a
happens is
deterrent.
the political power of that area controls the bureaucracy in India. The truth of the matter is, it's much more difficult for you to go against them because the entire machinery is against you. So when you try to reverse the process in an ideal world, I agree with you totally, but it's going to be a little more difficult. I think you have to start a comedian terrorist fringe group. You know,
I think the self censoring is just very scary and very, very sad.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Just kill their creativity. And in any case, not like they're so brilliant, and some of them are really short and hairy as well. So visually not a delight from any angle. Look at Jerry Seinfeld, he's 6'1".
They found that laughter exists in some form in rats and chimps. And so we have to at least be better than that, though, right? Because it's
Yeah,
basically telling us that rodents and monkeys have a better sense of humor than us. That's a really low bar.
yeah, and also how do you define what is offensive? That's another thing. Either it's free speech or not. Because I suppose like you said, if you're just abusing someone personally about parents and this and that, after a point it's just abuse. But if you're making a point in a colored way over a certain issue, or what we roughly refer to as satirical, or as you use the word lampoon, I mean, if you don't have that sort of creativity, then the cognitive functioning of the society as a whole is going nowhere. It's just little
Yeah,
banter. I mean, without banter, what is there? That's
that is
why
true.
I don't think sledging in sports should be stopped. I think people should abuse each other a little bit you know
And comedians generally in every country is usually reflects the dialogue that's happening in the country at the
well,
time. So to basically
yeah.
stifle that
I mean,
is
how can you
not
not localize? How can you not identify with the people you're living around? And of course, there are some ideals which are the same. Liberal is liberal, and ridiculous is ridiculous. And this whole religious right all over the world, wherever they are, not just here. It just has to shift a little bit because it's just ridiculous.
yeah.
You can't have a conversation. It's suddenly sacred cow. No pun intended. You can't go there, which is a pointless. Why? Like we just discussed, God, male or female. You can't do that. They'll say no, that's sacrilege. And of course, I'll
Yeah.
blame you, Bhargavi, and hopefully they'll lock you up forever.
I have one listener right now, maybe.
Yeah, well,
So I'm okay
that
for a
one
bit.
listener is me. That one listener is me.
Well, then I just want to ask you, you have those laugh tracks for your show, right?
But that's Kunal. I am totally against it.
But do you know why it's there?
Oh, I don't like it. I think it's just passe. I don't like that whole style. I don't like it at all, and I don't really get it. As in, I don't. We don't play it live when I'm talking, so I can't even get the timing.
Okay.
I wanted to have a live audience, which is a little difficult for us to do, and now with COVID, impossible. Even a 15,
Yeah.
20 seat kind of audience while we're doing the links, etc. So I can feed off them. So even if they heckle or they think the joke is bad, then it's good fun to have
It's
that thing.
energy, yeah.
Energy is
But
real.
you know, people are 30 times more likely to laugh in the presence of others than alone, which is why in 1950, the CBS sound engineer called Charles Douglas actually created the first laugh track to sitcoms because they realized if people heard people laughing, then they were more likely to laugh in their living
You hit
rooms.
the
That's why
bell
it
on
was
the
actually
head
there.
of the animal here, because this is explains why my wife never laughs. Because we're normally alone. Absolutely. If I just introduce a second wife, boom, I'm going to get humor out of this. Thank you,
That you're
Bhargavi.
assuming that
Oh,
Second
yeah.
Life is going to laugh.
Well, who else can I fit in the house? I can't just bring a stranger. It'll have to be a wife. So two wives there. Thank you.
Okay, so but what about these Indian shows? I don't know. Maybe your mom watches it. My parents watch some of it because they used to hate the laugh tracks that used to come on my sitcoms. But then they have this really annoying soundtrack or cue that they play after every single joke. It's a sound. It's not a
Okay,
laugh.
let's understand. The American shows, the laugh track is actually the laugh track of the live audience watching the
Not
show, which they
always.
rarely.
Not always. Because
Yeah, but that's the basic concept. So there's some sort of timing attached to it, and they have different sort of reactions. Here we are just putting a laugh track,
but you know
which
the
is
Indian
not.
thing I'm talking about, though, right? It's like a
Yeah, yeah,
it's a noise. It's a sound that they play.
yeah. Yeah.
It's a very
I'm
disturbing
really not a
sound.
fan. Yeah, please do an interview with Kunal. I'll tell you all my problems with him
We'll
because
do a
he has
separate segment to
no way.
just I could be like your counselor and the both of you could come on my show.
Yeah.
That would be
No. This is. I'm totally against it. So you're barking up the wrong tree. I just don't like it.
no, I'm telling
I
you,
just
the Indian one sucks. That sound makes my brain want to explode. It's horrible.
yeah. So what do we do now? Yeah. So I'll have to figure this out. I need more
The
support on
laugh
it.
tracks is a different thing, but this sound thing that they play on these Indian shows is a very different thing.
Yeah. The poing, 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 all
Yes.
that.
Oh my god, like kill it now.
Yeah. It's really. Don't start me off. Yeah.
Oh
What can I
god,
do?
okay.
I mean, ours is bad enough. The comedy is bad enough as it is. To enhance the badness is even worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
So, but how do you seem to get away with all this political lampooning? Because most others get threatened and shut down, and we see examples of this happening, like you just mentioned.
We say sorry from the beginning. We apologize all the time. I apologize to the show for the quality of the show and the content as well. I can't do more than that. And we even
Like
shooting shows like
disclaimers
Bakra.
have ever really stopped people
No,
from,
no, no, no. So what can you do? You just have to say, look, this is just irreverent nonsense. Don't take it seriously, which it is for the large part. Once in a while, we have a gem here and there, which makes sense by mistake, completely, coincidentally. But other than that, that's the whole idea. Also, we've had to apologize to a couple of people here and there. I won't take names, and
Mhm.
that's the way it goes.
But do you feel like your life is threatened sometimes, maybe? Because you guys are starting to push the envelope. I have noticed
But
that.
the politicians themselves have done the show in Hindi and for 6 months, and that was a little more difficult because there the reactions are much more stronger. Doing it in English so far so good. Also, most of the politicians who give us feedback have always been very nice.
Okay.
Only one or two, well, two actually that I remember were upset. One led to a legal case which now finally is gone, and one was we had called up and sort of I mean, there's no question. We apologize.
Right.
The idea is not to get into a fight with anyone because that's pointless. Also, we have Kunal Kamra for that. Everyone can't be Kunal Kamra. He's got resident security and he lives in Dubai, and all the best.
That's
But
true.
yeah, because I think it's just to have fun. Beyond a point, I don't want to take a stand where I have to draw a sword.
Yeah.
Not yet. I'll do that for dog poop.
But do you also think maybe it's because like all political parties are fair game for you and you don't have any particular leanings, at least on that
We
show
try
from what
not
I've
to. We try to balance it out, but more than balance it out, because our views, personal views are one thing. You're looking at news and you're trying to spin
seen.
news.
That's
So if you're
true.
looking at the news per se, then one has to. If Donald Trump is doing ridiculous things like inciting and then half retracting at the same time, so double speak.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the news that we play with, right?
Yeah.
So it's all on him. It's that's the way it is. Similarly, in India, if you have farmer agitation and the government is not bending, and then you decide which side you want to sort of spin it from.
Right.
Either way you spin it, you've taken a stance, but it's only on the issue.
The Christmas song that you guys just did on that.
Yeah, well, we tried to keep it light, but I think that went above everybody, so it's fine. Um, Yeah. So, I think if you just stick to the issues, it never gets really personal, right?
Because you're presenting technically facts. You're just sort of making
We're
fun
looking
of
at the
them.
issue. What the CNN International is not doing anymore because they became so personal with Donald Trump that in almost the last 2 years,
I
if you
think
watch
everyone
CNN,
sort of became that. They were sort of
yeah.
forced to take a
So
side.
not to take a side of the devil's advocate, but after some time, it almost looks like it's preordained,
Mhm.
right? Well, okay, so we all know that we don't like this guy, that he's a bit of a fascist and dangerous, etc. But if you're looking at the issue, you have to start as a moderator from zero, is what I say.
Yeah,
And
that's
the
why
issue would
fact
be then
checking became very important, I think, in the
yeah,
last 3 years.
as a scientist, you should say yes. So whether he's wearing a mask or not, that's the issue, right? Then we take that. We don't have to go back 200 pages to Donald Trump as a 12-year-old beating his friend up for not letting him, bat with the baseball or whatever they do in
Yeah, I
America.
think maybe people were just curious of how crazy his, upbringing was.
He's ridiculous, man. Okay, there's no question about that.
Um,
And I think that bit my mother sent me from his mother's quote from 30 years ago, saying that he was a socially awkward boy, a ridiculous person, and I hope he doesn't get into politics. But he's my son, and I love him. I think that's literally it. So we don't blame the mother. The mother's already given us this beauty, but he's been a bit of a socially awkward man, and then you go and put this guy in charge of the most powerful, well, not to mention nuclear reactors and things like that. And foreign policy, Kim Jong Un became his brother, and now Kim Jong Un has said that nuclear arsenal will expand triple in 2021 while his countrymen are dying of COVID.
yeah.
He's going to spend all his money on anti-aircraft missiles and things like that.
Yeah, he's psychotic and sociopathic.
He's got a lovely haircut. That should count for something. I'm struggling. I take my eyebrow hair and put it up, so it's not quite the same thing.
So end of part one then, and then you give me a time, and then we can do the second part. Okay, so we're back for part two with Cyrus. Welcome back. Part one was fun, but I'm now armed with new experience, Cyrus. This is no longer an
Right.
interview, it is now a game show, and whoever
Oh
gets the
God.
most words in wins.
Oh my God. No. This more competition. The last thing I need with my heart issues. Yeah.
Yeah, Cyrus, maybe you can take the winner out to dinner. I'm sure you'd love to dine with yourself.
That sounds a bit like my sex life. Why would I, I mean, the one thing I do is eat with others, even if it's just free food outside religious houses, but it is what it is.
Okay, also as a side note, I wanted to apologize for the glitchy, muffled sound every time Cyrus and I spoke over each other the last time, which was a lot. I had to disable some echo cancellation thing, which I didn't know about, but I've done it now. Hopefully, this time they can hear us talk over each other. So, hopefully, I've sorted
Hmm.
that out. So, the last time we ended with humor, and it was indeed a very funny beginning. But let's now
Right.
dive into something I find very intriguing. And so,
Okay.
carrying forward some of that gene talk, I want to
So one
talk to
second. So
you.
there should be no humor. Let me just remove the humor option. All right, that's done.
No, are you
This.
crazy? Please pump
Oh,
in
bring
as
it back. Okay,
much
one sec. Let
humor.
me find. Okay, because this all takes me time. I'm
It's
tech
a
challenged.
button, right? So I can
It's a
press it
button. It's a
for
button.
you.
Yeah, but okay, stop that. Sounds disgusting. I'll keep it there. Humor is there.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you about the GeoParsi scheme. And for those listeners who don't know what GeoParsi is, it is a funding
Hmm.
and counseling scheme that was created together with Parzor, the
And
Ministry
not
of
with Reliance, huh? Just be
and
clear.
not with
Yeah.
Reliance and the Ministry of Minority Affairs to help encourage Parsi couples to make little Parsi babies.
To mate,
Pretty
basically.
much.
It's a mating scheme. You're encouraged to mate and create more Parsis. And I think the third child, if you have three children, the third child is free. As in, that sounds disgusting, but it's sponsored by the Panchayat. So up till adulthood, all the bills are taken care of,
That
which is quite a
is,
bit, actually. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if your kid
Okay.
has expensive tastes, goosey and poosey, I believe double C in Italian is cha, so it must be Gucci. But growing up in Gurgaon, I only heard goosey, so I'm going to go with that.
Okay, and it was created because the Parsi population has declined 50% in the last 80 years.
Well, but yeah, but that's also to do with the fact that if you look at like South Korea, Japan, Scandinavian countries, all the affluent sort of societies tend to have less children, which tells you as you get affluence and enlightenment, you realize that kids and human beings should be less. It's just clear. They're disappointment and
Generally,
just don't
human
do that.
beings should just be less, regardless
Yeah,
of
that's
your
exactly it. That's
social
the lesson
background.
learned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, what are your thoughts on this Geopar scheme? There's like only 47,000 of you left now. You're an endangered
Is that the figure?
species.
I thought it was more like 60, but yeah, whatever. Yeah, they're doing what they can. But I've been told the bad news is that we've reached a figure mathematically which cannot be revived. In terms of if we don't change the order of the day and allow whatever the female side to be Parsi or mixed marriages, etc.,
Hmm.
or some other tribes from Armenia, or whoever you want. The maths is such that you can't revive. It's like the patient has reached a point in treatment, and the doctors can only do so much. And now then when they start saying 80% chance, 20% chance, then the percentage starts going down.
It's
You're
like
out of it.
climate change. You've sort of reached the end, and then there's not much you
Yeah,
can
that's
do.
what you started too late. So the horse is bolted. Let's use as many metaphors as we can to confuse people listening. Yeah.
So,
So that's
Dr.
the worry.
Sharnas Kama, who's the founder of Parzor, she has said that women being educated was part of the problem. And I was thinking,
Not
yes,
problem. The women being educated in the sense that empowerment leads to the fact of choice, right? And especially
exactly.
financial empowerment. So you don't just want to get married to who somebody points out and says, "Look at that, marry that," because our feet and their feet are the same size.
Yeah, you realize
So
you have
that
more options in life than
yeah,
just
you
being a
have more
baby
options and
maker.
you're exposed to different people in society, not just Parsi. So yeah, that is. I don't see it as a problem. That's just the way it is. What can we do?
But the real issue, it seems, is low TFR, which is the total fertility rate. And currently it stands low at, I think, 0.89, and the average is like 2.1 to 2.5.
Yeah, but it's all. I think that rate is also looked at the fact that people are marrying late and trying to mate late. If it's done in the early 20s, and what is par
No,
for
no,
the
this
course
is
for
like
others.
the total fertility rate. So they've sort of measured it across.
Yeah, but these total fertility numbers are all a little difficult for me to understand. Have they really done that? Nobody checked me.
They have.
Yeah, come on.
I think they're checking
These all.
women.
Yeah, but how many? It's a sample study. Okay, I'll give you your point there. Let's say you're
Mm,
right. Okay, so that is a problem, but there's science, and you can oppose that in many cases successfully. So that alone, if the drive is there, that alone is not a problem. You know, I
right.
think the problem is just that there are too few people, and in the marrying zone, many women, as you rightly pointed out, may say, okay, listen, I'm in love with Harshad Bhai, who's not Parsi, and I'm going to go that way because he's got 900 crores and he's just a lovely human being who opens doors. You know, well,
There
I don't know
aren't
too
that
many
many
Harshad Bhais
nice human
who
beings with
open doors.
900 crores.
No, they might be. Sometimes when you're rich, you just feel good about it. Everybody's not obnoxious. Look at me. I'm not. I'm obnoxious without being rich. So I don't see a correlation. Yeah.
And did you see those Geo Parsi ads? Some of them were pretty sexist from what I saw. Like one of them said,
Uh,
getting married and having babies early is so regressive. Thankfully, she wasn't listening. Now, that must have woken
yeah.
up some feminists.
Yeah, I think they can't really get into all that because if there's also racist in a sense because you're trying to breed amongst only certain among of people, so that is a racist point.
Yeah.
There's feminism, there's sexism, ageism, everything involved. So I think if we start looking at that, then it's a failed experiment because it's not politically correct. But you have to
Yeah.
perhaps the exception that makes the rule. The tribe is dwindling; there are very few left. You want to preserve them. It's a bit like the tiger or the blue whale,
Or the
or
Pilit and Gibbon, who's native to
or my
Cambodia,
favorite, the great
and
in
they are
the
also
gr-
only 47,000 left.
there you go, and probably have a few similar rituals. And also the great Indian bustard, which I just like to say because
Hmm.
of the last word. Yeah, who actually there are a few left apparently. The myth that they're extinct, there are actually a few bustards. Everywhere you go, you find a bloody bastard,
What
as far
there's
as I'm concerned.
okay.
Yeah.
You were waiting to say that line.
No, it was a bad setup. Don't even
Yeah.
refer to it ever again. Let's hope the audio is so bad nobody heard it. Huh.
This is a really good one though. It says after you're done raising your kids, they will look after you. Now I'm guessing some parents are headed for some serious disappointment.
There's a lot of cliches in that I don't even want to get into. I'll get nasty letters. But yeah, but the point of the matter is if you look at it from outside perspective and the fact that they're dwindling numbers, you have to do something more drastic. So they're trying all these different things. And like if you leave the political correctness out of the door as well, but I'm a little cynical. Honestly, I think the horse is bolted and it's a bit too little too late.
Did you take
I mean, they'll do what they
financing
can.
from Geoparsi to make your two
No, no, I'm
babies?
not. I've married outside the community and
No, no, but you're
whatever.
allowed.
Yeah, that's it. That's why I won't get into all this because it's so controversial. But I would
Yeah.
take funding in a heartbeat for anything. I have no scruples with funding. People say, "Are you pro spitting?" I'll be like, "Okay, you're giving me money. I'm pro spitting." It's like that.
So you are the W word we spoke about.
I am. I am. I'm a capitalist to the extreme. I believe business first, and then we'll find the morality attached to it. I think that's the way to go
Being a
to survive.
capitalist, I think, is in your Parsi blood, though. That is, they're good
They're
at that.
entrepreneurs, no doubt. Perhaps not so many today as there were in the old days. But
That's
they
just a
being
numbers
ref-
game, no? There's not that many left.
That's true, but even if you look at it from a percentile point of view, I would think that being refugees in the first place, your survival instincts all over the world are stronger. So when they come to India and then deal with the British, they know how to survive. Should we do this?
Well,
Should we do
you
that?
guys survived the British really
Yeah,
well.
yeah. So we took what we could from the British, basically.
Yeah.
As in, I won't use the word matlabi, but we were able to steer the course.
Yeah, and you guys had a lot of advantages from.
People don't know this, but it's between the Kolis and the Parsis for the real first inhabitants of Mumbai. So, I mean, these are the two top communities, I think, followed by the Pathare Prabhus. If you really do the research on who was here in Mumbai first. So, these are the three communities who should be given special status. We should
Hmm.
not be charged for public transport, or if we are driving, you should, let us
We should
pass.
just, yeah, like an
I would, I
ambulance.
would, I would include salutes and all that, but it's too much to ask from people at
We
this
we can
point.
manage that. I think a salute or two. Why not?
At a later point, once this whole COVID thing and the vaccine actually works and the side effects are less, women with beards stop appearing in public, all that, because I'm waiting for all that to happen.
Wow, what if the side effects were making everyone sterile?
Oh, not the
That
worst
that
thought
would
the world
solve
has ever
climate.
had.
That would solve climate
Yeah,
change.
I don't see that as a negative. I
I
see that
don't
as a middle of the
either.
line thought.
I see it
Yeah,
as a very
somewhere
positive.
between. Yeah, yeah. There you
Yeah.
go.
So getting into some of the controversial stuff now.
Right.
Now, one of the official rules of the religion states that children of Parsi men who married outside the community can be initiated into the community, like yourself, but children of
Hmm.
women married outside the faith cannot be. Now, what do you think about this women having to give up their faith, their inheritance, just because they fell
Yeah,
in love with a non-Parsi, but a Parsi man loses nothing for doing the exact same thing?
yeah. It's clearly sexist. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it's a silly question to ask. You can't endorse it. But I want to point out that I have no interest in making rules and regulations, honestly. This has to be done by people inside the community to figure this out and sort it out amongst themselves. And I hope they do it without violence, because of late, even the Parsis start misbehaving, which means there's
We
no
can't
hope for
endorse it,
India.
but there's already obviously a strong support to carry it on, this tradition.
Um, I think people are not, maybe not fighting. Only those who are affected are fighting that much. The others just, most of us just look the other way, which is how the world doesn't change in any case. But
Exactly.
again, I don't know if that's going to save anybody now. I mean, I hope it happens because it's really unfair. Sometimes, if you're looking at it from a racial point of view, there are kids who are 75% Parsi and
Hmm.
are denied that because there's mother from the father's side, etc.
Right.
So, sorry, from the mother's side. So, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want this responsibility. It's too much for me. I have to deal with building politics. I've got to deal with
Building
stuff in my
politics. That really
studio.
gets you, doesn't it? Because it keeps
Yeah, yeah,
coming
yeah.
up.
I'm going to start. See, I'm not Chinggis Khan yet, or Cyrus of Anshan. I haven't conquered the tribes around me. I haven't done. You want me to go out, go venture forth, and take on China? I can't do all that yet.
Yeah, not
Uh,
yet.
Give me
Maybe
time.
after
Give me
the
time.
salute.
Yeah, first I got to get rid of one member in the club. Was not member, one personality in
When
the
you
club who
say
has to go.
club, what do you mean? Is it like your country club types?
It's a metaphorical thing. The country club sounds really pompous, and
It
I
is.
can't
The
use that.
whole concept of clubs is gross. I'm just
It is.
saying.
It's elitism at its worst. Yeah.
So what I didn't understand now, the whole only a child born of a Parsi father is considered a Parsi, and that is a well-known rule. But the GeoParsi website has worded its FAQs in a way like it was the government of India's rule. So it says, "I'm a Parsi woman married to a non-Parsi man. Am I eligible to apply to the GeoParsi scheme?" It says, "No, you're not eligible to apply to the GeoParsi scheme. The guidelines followed by the government of India accept only a child born of a Parsi father as a Parsi. Since the
Yeah.
GeoParsi is a
So
government scheme, we have to follow these guidelines."
yeah. So that's both right and wrong because it's an alliance with the government of India. So you can easily drag the government of India in it
They
because you
are.
put it together. So they're not wrong. It's transitive property at play here. If A says something and B says something, then it's
No, no,
transfers
but
to C.
this, considering the Parsi father as a child from him as a Parsi, that is a Zoroastrian rule. That's not something the government would have made up. They're probably respecting
No,
the
the government
religion's
hasn't made up,
rule.
but they're a partner in the creation of this, right? So you can take the liberty of saying that if I was to play devil's advocate, but look, I don't know why we even argue all these points
No, I'm
because it's very
just,
clear what is right and wrong. So
yeah, it's
it's
just something that
pointless.
stuck out to me, so I brought it up.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay, so I found this documentary Kissa very informative. You were in it too,
Hmm.
in case you forgot, because of your Parsi disease.
Oh, I was in it.
Yes.
Oh, jeez. No, this is very painful. Now, what the hell was I doing there?
Oh, you said
You
a
see, the
bunch
problem is
of.
whenever there's there's a Parsi controversy or something, they call us up. It's not fair. Or
Yeah,
somebody makes something.
you talked about
Yeah.
vaginas, just in case you don't remember.
Oh God, angina or
Yeah,
vagina?
vagina. It had
I'm
nothing.
closer to angina than vagina now.
It,
I can tell you that.
it had
Yeah.
nothing to do with the documentary, but they
Oh
kept it
my
in. They
God,
left it in.
they did.
Yeah.
we we've got to freewheel a little bit, otherwise the documentary was going nowhere. Oh yeah, okay, I remember. There's this a lady, young girl who had come home. Was it one girl, her brother and sister duo? I can't. Oh
And you
God, I can't
decide to
remember.
go with vagina as your.
Well, there must be some context to it. I mean, how
No, it was part of it was funny, I have to say.
yeah.
Okay.
I'll have to call Harish Salve to save me. Yeah.
So, this well spoken Parsi religious scholar said that we
Hmm.
need to increase our ethnic stock. How can we increase our ethnic stock? If one marries out, can Zoroastrianism accept it from a religious point of view? The answer is a capital no. If a girl marries out, she ceases to be Zoroastrian.
Uh, Bhargavi, what's the point?
The point is, I'm getting to it. I thought you might have a
Yeah.
comment. He
No,
also
no comment.
says,
I think we clear that it's a sexist path and it's
no, I know
incorrect
we
and
agree,
all
but I
that.
feel like we
So
can sort of
I don't know
break
what to say.
down what, like, okay, you'll understand what
See,
I'm
you have
trying
to
to say.
understand whoever. Okay, go ahead.
He also said that historically the religion has been agnetic. We can't change history, but should we change it to something even worse? But my point was, regardless of whether the child comes from the Parsi father or mother, the child is still genetically 50% Parsi. So this
Hmm.
discrimination, besides having the religion having had been agnetic, has no scientific basis. But the interesting part, and now you
Hmm.
can comment, is the
Yeah.
mitochondrial DNA, which is passed down exclusively from the mother to child. Its
Hmm.
analysis suggests that since their migration to India, the Parsis had mixed with local females. So they're not really a
Correct.
pure breed. But also,
No,
why? Like, where were all the Parsi women?
no, that's just from both sides. There must have been. It's like how many American ethnic white Americans have Native American blood in them if they do that blood test, or Native or African American blood in them. 1/16th Native American, 1/14th. I mean, all of them. So it's the same thing there. So much for the purity. I mean, this whole thing is pointless after some time because at the end of the day, there's no way you can preserve anything. Because everything evolves and everything changes, and they can talk about history all day, and this was what it was, and but if the traditions and the religions and the conventions don't evolve, they die, and that's
Yeah,
the sad truth.
it is
So
sad
I,
truth.
I've been on so many forums, and I try to keep a balanced view because they start getting aggressive and fighting both sides, for the racist profiling and for the complete flexibility profiling. And I'm like, hey, nobody talks in a clinical, logical way. It just becomes too emotional, and
Yeah,
emotional arguments, unless they involve cricket, have no interest with in my life.
I
So I leave.
see. But you're a history guy. Do you know anything about your great 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 grandmamas and aunties?
No, I know that I'm a direct descendant of Cyrus of Ansha, and I can talk to you about Persian history. I have very little interest in Persian religion, in a Parsi religion. I have far more interest in history, so I can tell you all that. Where they came in Gujarat, and how can they not mate with other people? That will happen from time to time. People you work with, etc., etc. Then your father, children, whatever, whatever. Some are accepted, some are not accepted, because the rules kept changing. When they first came in, it took a little while before this panchayat sort of has made these hard and fast rules,
Hmm.
which again, to preserve the species, it's like if you want to keep the German Shepherd, then that's what you do. But if he's injured all over, you start mixing him with other things so that the injuries don't come out. And then you have the Belgian Shepherd, which has stronger hips and less problem with the same recurring diseases that the GSD had.
Right. There's a whole genetic
Uh,
study done on Parsis, and it's really fascinating. You should read it sometime when you get the time. And
No, let me tell you, my interest in Parsis is very strong when it comes to Persia, but
mhm.
not so much when it comes to community. I have to honestly tell you, my good friend Kunal Virekar, who's a Maharashtrian, but now has decided he's become Baban Irani. He lives in his house. He copies his mannerisms. He acts like him. He talks like him. It's
Well, if he
ridiculous.
acts like him, it's good because he's a good actor.
No, it's a poor performance. It's a poor man's a very garib version. And the point is, the other day he corrected me for Adar Punawala when I said Adar. Not a name I'm used to, but it's Adar. So he said, "You should know as a Parsi in his pompous way that it's Adar and not Adar. Adar is a card." I said, "Just talk rubbish."
That sounds
So
like
of no
him.
consequence.
That's a
Of
good.
course, it sounds like
That's
a
a good
moron.
imitation.
Absolutely, I've perfect imitation. And I lambasted him for 10 minutes until the wife, came after me because she always protects him for some reason, like how you protect the weak. Yeah. So my point is, I have no interest really in all that. So frankly speaking, my interest is in the history. So I can't really
Mm,
comment on this beyond the point of a normal. I would think a normal, common sense approach to it, which is obviously sexist, ageist, etc., etc. But it's not in my hands; it's in the hands of the seniors in the community, and this is what they want to do.
right. But that scholar had said that not allowing women back in once married out, he said the learned priests for the last 100 years or so have said this, but the religion is almost 3,000 years old, right? So I'm just sort of
But
wondering
when
how come no one
Darius the
has
first,
challenged these beliefs.
let's put this in perspective. When Darius the first, okay, was basically the greatest of the conquerors that
Hmm.
Persia had, came all the way up to the Indus before Alexander. Now he's the one who really propagated and pushed the religion everywhere, all the way down Central Asia, all the way towards places like Armenia, right toward the borders of India.
Hmm.
Uh, so when he was there, he was converting people. So it is not like the religion wasn't using conversion. Conversion happened with all the conquered peoples. That's how it spread first. So if you want to go back in time before everyone, then conversion was allowed
No, we're not talking
right at
about
the top.
conversion. We're talking about not letting the women back in once married out.
No,
He
but it all
said
stems
that
from
has
that.
been
No, it
said
all
by.
stems from that. It all stems from the racial purity theory. But there was no theory when you begin. When you begin, it went out of what was modern day Iran, then to Mesopotamia, which is modern day Iraq, etc., then to Syria, all the places that they conquered, all the way down to some of the Greek states, all the way down to Central Asia, all the way down towards the border of
From what
India.
I read, it was a
So
very open religion when it first began.
exactly. So now it's in human
So
hands.
maybe this
Years
is a
later,
more Indian thing because we love
no,
segregation and we love
it's an Indian thing
discrimination.
also. The second part is the refugees come in here after the Islamization of Iran. Then they come here to Gujarat and they want to save their traditions and all. They're worried they'll just disappear because there are few of them. So in a sense, it made sense to do that. But while doing that, they got went to the other extreme and without allowing a little crossbreeding, etc. At least officially, as you said, unofficially it's happened. You're in this position where mathematically it looks like we're in a graveyard.
Yeah.
So the
But
sexism and all coming into it is a secondary aspect because by now, no, how do we save them anyway?
right. And do you guys have like manuscripts, something you can actually go back to and read to see what exactly maybe was in there in the beginning?
Yeah, but you know what? Even if something is in there, I don't want to make fun of anyone's holy books because people are so emotional. You have
Hmm.
to adapt to evolve, right? I
Absolutely.
mean, didn't that happen with all the animals? Did it happen with the dinosaurs that survived or the birds that became, fish or whatever?
Everything has to
We had to,
evolve to
yeah.
survive.
I mean, I'm hairless today because I'm, the last of the human species. So I have no hair on my torso. I've adapted to this horrible, horrible temperature here, where
Yeah.
people sarcastically say, "Oh, it's winter," and you see a joker wearing a sweater and walking around in January in Mumbai. And you're not allowed to smack them in public, so you have to just quietly allow it. But it's a piece of satire for me. He's wearing a sweater and walking around while I'm
Yeah.
sweating.
In the dead of heat.
And this so yeah, and they use words like winter. That's disgusting. All
maybe
right.
in
I
maybe in
hope I've
Delhi, but
answered
not
your
here.
questions completely the way you wanted them, which is I've opened up discussion.
So this
Yeah.
head priest, though, in that documentary, he was, I think, really sensible. He said, "We don't try to understand each other." He said, "People are set in their thoughts, like has to be this and that's it." He says, "Just because we've done something for so many years, we should not do it. But there are so many things that we've not done since we came from Iran, and we have changed. And change is the most important thing. And if we don't change, we're not going to survive." That's what he said. So pretty much. So this is like a
I
head
mean,
priest. So why aren't people following
mutilation
this
of the
guy?
female genitalia in certain sub-religions is still practiced. How do
Yes.
you condone that? I mean, let's just, after some time, there's just common sense approach to everything. There are many things where they may have worked. Maybe the dog and the pig carried a plague, hence they got a bad name in Islam, etc. But you have to look at it in the 21st century.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't start me off. I have nothing. I'm not part of the human species. I identify myself as canid.
A mongrel, you
Yeah,
said, right?
between the Wolverine and the mongrel. Yeah,
Mm. But this is obviously causing a lot of disharmony within the community, I would imagine.
it's a debate which splits the community open, and it'll continue to do that because people have to understand Parsis is just like any other human beings. Look at America. Look at any parts of India. So you've got hardliners, you've got liberals. Our liberals are the best liberals in the world. Our hardliners are as right as you can get. There
Hmm.
is no difference.
Yeah, I think so. I from everything at least that I read and
It
watched.
depends on who can sway whom in terms of who are the men of of status and stature who come through from which side and then push the agenda better. But it's
Mm.
I
But
don't
the
know.
head
But like
priest,
I
I
said,
would think, would technically trump any
yeah, he
scholar when it comes
sounds
to religious authority, though, right? Like I would think at least they're
yeah,
pretty
he would
important.
at least on the face of it. But it's a panchayat. There are people involved. They make the decisions. Yeah.
He said, "I don't understand why we can stop a Parsi woman from following a Zoroastrian religion just because she marries a non Parsi. The Marriage Act of 1954 gives her that right. And he believes that bringing about just a little bit of change geared more towards gender equality would bring peace to the community." And I think a lot of Parsis sort of agree with him.
Yeah, but I still say if you really want to save the concept of Zoroastrianism, at some point they'll have to allow other people in. Otherwise, it's just not going to work.
It's just going to die out.
And your Bhargavi going to keep this transcript and say, I had one of the last interviews with one of these guys, and maybe in the museum in Gateway of India, the what's it called now? It used to be called the Prince Charles of Wales Museum, but apparently it's called something else
Yeah,
now.
this
So I better be
podcast is
careful.
going down in history because nobody
Yeah.
talks about this. I've not heard people talk about Parsi history and like in the mainstream. I'm talking about.
Well, I don't know who's going to go first, the tiger or us, but I do know that there are lots of tigers in captivity in America. So maybe
Oh
some of
yeah,
the Parsis
yeah.
could be, a lot, like thousands, in the thousands.
They should use those
The rich
breeding,
people. Yeah, so
methods.
maybe we have to do something like that. Put the rich Parsi somewhere else and save them, and maybe they can try again with where the processes are a little better mathematically speaking for them to expand.
And anyway, like this whole
But
concept of pure breeds is so dated. Like migration, genetic exchange, and the mixing of cultures has been so absolutely integral for human progress, which is why I don't even understand when people make cultural appropriation into this, horrible negative
yeah,
concept. Don't get it.
if the way I see it, this is not just for Parsis, but for anything. If people come to a table to have a discussion, whether it's Kashmir, Israel, Arab, Democrats, Republicans, come to the table because they want a positive result. You
Right.
know, you actually achieve it. But if you come with agenda saying I will not budge, there's no point.
Yeah, and that's
So the big
happening. You
problem,
can see it these days.
yeah. So until that openness is there in your thinking to allow to hear the other side, and that means us too. If we are the liberals, then we have to listen to the other side and say, okay, what do you have to say? Let me understand. You have to be slightly open. If you're not going to have that approach, it just doesn't work. It's an ego thing, and the male ego has destroyed everything in the world. It's a second worst thing after rap music. So honestly,
The white man and the
um,
male's ego. Two things.
you could do that. You could go that way, but I wouldn't just racially profile because if I look down history, white man alone is not responsible for everything. If you look at the horrendous genocides that were there pre this century, and we're only looking at colonialism for the white man, and from the 14th, 15th century for them. Before that, there was plenty of others. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but I'd like to focus on pure breeds for a bit, just from the science
hmm
part of it.
But let's do dogs then.
Okay, so mixed races are stronger, healthy, and yes, this goes for dogs and
No, but
cats.
that's
So
that's also
adopt, don't
stereotype, Bhargavi.
shop.
That's also stereotype. We hope we're healthier or whatever
No,
because of the
no,
blood,
just
whatever.
genetically, it's just that.
So they say, but I don't know, man.
No, there is
I've
science. I
seen
can
enough.
explain it to you. Off podcast
Yeah,
if you
I'm
like.
definitely genetically superior to Kunal, my good friend, because now he can't even
Well,
tie.
he's
He
not
doesn't.
mixed, right? You are.
That's what he's pure. So that's the difference. So my point is, he can't tie shoelaces anymore. So now no shoes have laces because it's just too far away,
So it's what
and you
Velcro
can't.
then?
Yeah, no, not even Velcro. It's just a thing you can slip on, and it's big enough, and hopefully it doesn't slip off.
I think
Yeah.
I've seen him wear something that looked like Crocs.
What are you doing with him? So many options and examples of Kunal behavior that you have. It's scaring me.
It's because you keep bringing him up, and then these things come to
Yeah.
my mind.
Yeah. Because he's the only person who comes to my house. Well, there are vendors, but I should spend more time with the vendors. Yeah.
Mm. So, but like inbreeding leads to something called inbreeding depression, which is the population's ability to survive and reproduce. And inbreeding has been found to decrease fertility as a direct result. So they're actually being counterproductive, I think, right? They're trying to increase ethnic stock by marrying within the limited community, but are failing because of low fertility, which is a direct consequence of marrying within the community. So what are they going to do? It's like a catch-22 for them.
But again, this point would have been well made 50 years ago. Okay, when we could have said, okay, now just be really careful about it, marrying your third cousin also. Okay. Now at this point, like I've said from the beginning of this podcast, well, from this section at least, it's just mathematically not enough. None of this is going to help. Not just the females being allowed given equal rights. Not the be careful of the breeding pattern. Yes or no. There's got to be some other solution because it's far too gone. You give a figure of under 50,000, which has already scared me. Which is just ridiculous. 50,000.
47,000. I think
I mean that's not even a tribe. What is that? I mean, you go to Ghatkopar, you go to two buildings, and
that's
you've
what I'm
got the
saying.
same
Like the
number of people.
community is even more limited. So to like say you have to marry within you're obviously marrying, very genetically
Yeah, no,
close
no. My point is
cousins.
my point is just perspective on it, which is that that really isn't. We can talk about all that now, but it's already done. We have to find a solution if you really want to survive, which is a little is left of center. It's not going to work, and I don't, no pun intended, but literally that. Yeah.
Yeah, but don't they think about these things like birth defects, spontaneous abortions, because of complications, more genetic disease? Like cancer is so
But
prevalent in the Parsi community, right? And it is because scientists believe it's because of an increasingly limited gene pool.
you can say that, but we are touch wood a long living community. If you do your research, in terms of how long long the average Parsi lives, it's a long living community. So it's also that side of the argument. Um, yeah, it's beyond my capacity to answer these questions. You have to talk to a real expert. I think Harsha Bhogle knows more about this subject, and or is it just because I'm watching the game simultaneously? I'm not sure.
You did that the last time as well. So,
I
yeah,
have to.
so much for focus.
Yeah, because we can't do things at home. Home is wrong, really.
Where do you want to do this?
I want to go back to studios and all. Yeah, I like to be at places. I feel redundant after some time sitting at home. I feel like
But
a
haven't
housewife.
you guys been going in for some stuff? I
For
thought you guys
shooting, for shoots and all, I've been everywhere.
for
But
the
for the
week that
bloody
wasn't.
podcast, no one wants to come out. So no guest is willing to come. I
Because
mean, we're
people are
doing
spitting
dailies.
on each other. You're sort of breathing in
Yeah, so
aerosols, you
what?
know.
So
Well,
what?
it could
So
be
what?
COVID. So just wait a
No, so what?
while.
We have to fight COVID with natural immunity, and that'll happen from spitting on each other.
And
I'm
some
pro
people will
spit.
die as a result, so that's not good if you can
Hey,
avoid
look,
it.
I didn't make the earth. Okay, now I can only tell you that we are soldier on or not. I prefer soldiering on to paranoia. Other people have to decide. I think there's too much anxiety and paranoia, and that's just not helping. It's better to take your chances.
Yeah. Okay, so just
How
ending
we
with this,
switch
like
topics, by the way.
all science and science are from all angles are sort of pointing to one direction, and it looks like they're going in the opposite. So maybe, like you said, in the long run, Parsis marrying outside the
No,
community
I
can
think
actually strengthen the Parsi
last word on the
population.
subject. Look at all this from a clinical, scientific. You're doing a scientific podcast. Let an art student who's failed many times tell you that from a scientific basis, without looking at emotions, this factor, that factor, the sexism. Just look at it from a scientific point of
Yeah,
view.
just
How
look
do
at the
you
facts and sort of,
regenerate?
yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. How do you regenerate? Supposing there are cockroaches or mosquitoes or lambs or sheep or whatever. How do you regenerate? Right? So
Massive
that's
breeding
no.
grounds.
If they don't look at it like this, we're gone.
Yeah, I hope they
That's a
realize that
sad
though,
truth.
because that'd be very sad. Because
Well,
it's
I've given up. I've made my peace with it. I've just given up. What can I do?
it's such a
So my
nice
son, that's
community,
why I made them
though.
have their navjots for whatever mix this and the other. They carry the Broacha surnames. And you may be literally the last generation of Parsis. And if they
Yeah.
marry a Parsi or they make it more flexible by then, who knows? But otherwise, gone.
Well, I'm never for any babies, but if I had to tolerate them, I'd vote for mixed babies. Like you, Cyrus. See how well you turned
Hmm.
out.
Yeah, what about my babies? You haven't seen them.
Yeah, I haven't seen your babies.
Anyway, so that's all
Um,
if you want to save, then you've got to look deeper. These token things aren't going to help now. Just
yeah,
allowing, I mean, you should, obviously, women should be given equal rights. There's no question of that argument, but that
yeah,
won't save.
yeah.
Saving is going to be something drastic. Yes, that's right. And I think there's a whole group in Armenia. There's a lot of latent Parsis in Iran who practice Zoroastrianism at home over the years and continue to do
There's a
so.
bunch in
You know,
Pakistan.
but it's very little, yeah.
I
They
mean,
they are there, but
your
it's
whole is very
that
little,
way New
so
Zealand, yeah,
it's
exactly.
worth
2000
mentioning
in,
every few of them.
yeah, but 2000 in Pakistan, 1000 in New Zealand, 2000 in Germany. You do a little bit, it
Yeah.
adds up a little bit. Where do you go? 47 goes to
I met
65.
Babas in
It's like that.
Canada. I have a friend who's
They are. These are all the
Parsi,
places where they are. But what is that lot? And they're all in touch with each other. I remember when I came on the podcast,
so.
Canada head of the Canada Zoroastrian. They're very flexible. Their ideas are more liberal and all. But it's like 1,000, 1,500. I can't remember the figure. Literally, I know Indian communities, sub communities like say GSBs in Sydney. They are bigger than the entire Parsi community, and that's just Sydney.
Yeah.
And they meet and
Yeah, like
chat.
one Marathi mandal in California would
That's
probably
what
wipe you guys
yeah,
out.
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Okay.
Wish
So
I could
anyway,
help.
so moving on to something lighter. I did
Oh,
have
one
three
last thing.
more.
My breeding days are over. So
Are
Bhargavi, no
they?
pressure on me.
No,
I
I
think
don't.
so.
No, no, please stop breeding. Okay, humans need to stop reproducing because you're
Yeah,
a Parsi. I'm
exactly.
going to sort of just let
Yeah.
that slide. But
No,
in
but it's too
general,
much pressure.
humans
It's too
just
much
need to
pressure.
stop.
It's too much pressure.
Good. So you don't have to
Yeah.
perform. That's it. We don't want any more from you.
You don't have to perform. You put in a test tube. You don't have to ever meet the girl. It's a new way. It's what's it? Social contact to be avoided, etc. In the days and times we live in. Fair enough. Yeah. My test tube, your test tube. Boom. Never meet. The panchayat takes care of the
Your
kid.
test tube.
Yeah.
That's disgusting. Anyways, I was going to talk to you about three more serious topics, but I think I'm going to just do them in person when I meet you, maybe.
Okay.
So you're a comedian, whether you like it or not.
I'm an out of work actor, singer, dancer,
You're not out of
anchor.
work at all. You started your career with theater when you were just 6, and then some films while you were still very young, and then you went to Strasbourg to study method acting.
15.
Lee Strasbourg, for those who aren't aware. So how
Yeah,
old
well,
were
it's
you when
called
you went to
Strasbourg.
Strasbourg? Like early
So
20s?
1994, I was 22. I just turned 22.
And
So
sorry,
I
yeah,
did
what?
1 year of advertising. I just
Mhm.
finished college in 93.
Advertising
And
was in Bombay?
yeah, so
Okay.
that's why I worked with the great Vijay Kar. and Sylvie D'Acunha,
What did
who
you
was
do
one of the
when you said you
copywriter. What do you do when
copywriter?
you have no degree? I was like a BA, and I was doing a government law college in the morning, but it was 6 in the morning, 6 to 9. So literally at
Mm.
5 to 9, 8:55 it ended, and the office was 5 minutes away. So Kunal would fetch me at 5 to 9 from outside the office and from the college,
I
and I
find that
sleep
really
six to
funny
nine
when Bombay people say he fetched me, like as if you were a dog
because
and a
if
bone.
you say pick up, it sounds like you're a person of ill repute or whatever, oldest profession, and I'm not that yet. I don't think I'll ever be that.
Well, you said
Yeah.
you were a W, yeah, so
I
you
am,
are
but that's
that.
just a metaphor. Because the thing is, I won't have a market. Otherwise, I would have been there. I don't have a moral issue with it. I was like, who's going to come to me? I'll be
Well, there's
sitting
a
there
market for
advertising.
everything. I will tell you that,
You
and I've
think,
told this to
really?
many
God,
people. Yes.
yeah, you're just being positive because you're young. 10 years later,
How
when your
old do you
organs
think
fail,
I
you'll
am? You
understand.
keep calling me young. I
I
mean,
forget now. You came to the office once, but many years ago. Maybe 25?
I'm 36.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh boy, 11 years ago we met. That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yes. Did you go to the New York, Strasbourg, or the LA
yeah.
one?
Very much, very much.
So you
Strasbourg,
had a
Al
pretty
Pacino, and
Yeah. So you had a pretty you were pretty serious about acting to have gone to the New
no, I was
York
doing theater in
branch.
Bombay. I was, doing this advertising theater double life like Alec Padamsi, Bugs Bhargava, Mohan Kapoor, Keith Stevenson, Ronnie Screwvala, all from this, the so-called inspirations.
Mhm.
And I just got bored of this. I've been fighting this elocution. Like I fight on the podcast as well. People want to do a retake and say the same thing again because you stumble. I'm just against all that. And then I
Mhm.
realized my thinking is not new. Stanislavski, when all this was already thought of by some of the greats in the past, which is impulse acting, letting yourself flow, just being you. And not, I mean, if you look at Marlon Brando, one of the exponents, at the beginning of Julius Caesar, the famous Mark Antony speech, he uses the first few lines just to quell the crowd, which makes sense. But if
Mhm.
you do it in school, it'll be like friends, Romans, countrymen, pause, pause, pause. But he goes, friends, Romans, countrymen, because he's telling them to sit down, listen to me. It makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me, that interpretation of it and all. So the whole idea of being on impulse, trusting your sense memories, much better than we're just elocuting too much in India. Still have to attend these schools and colleges as judges and listen to these kids pontificate in this boring way where they're so disconnected from what they're saying. It never
Yeah.
flows from within. There's no streams of consciousness.
I've
So I
seen
was
that.
irritated with that.
That's
And
true
I'm
because
always
every time I
irritated.
watch theater, sometimes it sort of makes me uncomfortable to
It
watch.
does. And then how do we connect with the guy watching, because you're just, what are you doing? I
Yeah.
mean,
Like something
Shakespeare
is
is fine, but
off.
it has to be conversational. If it's not the way we're talking right now, it's pointless.
Exactly.
And after
And
that, you still have a
especially, don't
problem
you feel that
connecting.
about like English theater in India, though, at least what I've watched
Yeah,
in
so serious
Bombay?
English theater,
It's
comedy
like
was
it's
was fine.
written like how you would read, but
Yeah,
it's not written for
it
spoken
no,
English.
it
And it
just sounds very
just
bombastic
very
and
off.
pompous.
Yeah.
It's very pompous in the way it's delivered, and theater can't just be pompous. That's the first thought you get of someone overdressed, over made up, and over talking. I'd like to say, it's just unnecessary.
Yeah. It's very
So I just wanted to
fake.
break that. So I did my research, of course, through books in those days, and then I went. It was a short course, 3 to 4 month course, 14
Okay.
weeks was it? And yeah,
I went to
it was
the
a great.
LA one because the
Oh, you
movie set
did?
everything. Yeah, yeah, the movie
What are you
set
saying?
everything
Then why are you
to.
wasting my time? You know all about it. Yeah. But it was also an eye opener for living alone, Indian male, not
I
having a
think
place to stay, no money.
Indian man should go abroad and live on his own because he will pick up life skills which he would
No, my
otherwise
God, Bhargavi,
not.
I didn't know how to make keema. Just because my sister was in North Carolina, was on the phone explaining to me how to do it, and I put too much tomato puree. This is the first time I cook anything, and
Kima is still
because she
okay though, because most
no, but listen,
people's
she
idea
she
of
thought
cooking is
as
like,
a no, she thought this is the dish to let him do because it's so easy. So go and get this. There were like 3 steps, okay? Literally microwave sort of foodish thing and all that. You have to just add this, that, and the other. And the tomato puree was the key, and then just cut some pyas and a tomato, I think if I remember correctly, and that's it. And put it in, and then heat for so much at so much temperature. It came out as orange as the BJP. It was like, oh my god, it was so orange. I had 2 roommates. One was Greek, one was Indian, and Indian, but staying there
you
for a
said
long
one
time.
was Greek.
A Greek Australian. So actually
Okay.
Australian. That's why we bonded. Yanni, his name is Yanni. Great
Yamanda.
guy.
Yeah.
Yanni was a nurse, by the way, in Melbourne. Yeah,
Why
before
were you
coming here.
laughing at that? You just
No, because when
defended
he first,
all
when
the
he when,
fucking
because
sexism
when I
talks.
yeah when I first met him and he said, okay, I might see you from cricket country. So I said, yeah, all that, and then we talked for a bit, and I said, so what did you do? I thought he was an actor. He said, no, I was a nurse for 3 years. I remember that's how we bonded. I cracked up. It just sounded funny. I'm so sorry. I apologize. But back in Australia, being a male nurse is
It's
like,
okay. We're
especially
all
as
hypocrites.
yeah. No, but apparently it was good pay. That he explained to me that he's the guy who told me about toilets. That if you clean toilets, you get double pay on the hour. As say McDonald's gives you 10,
Hmm.
then the toilet cleaner gets 20.
Did you
I was
work
like,
in the
wow.
States
I did.
illegally?
So I had a Mexican friend called Jorge, and who didn't speak good English. So I used to defend him in class a lot because he used to struggle. He's now a soap opera star apparently, but I don't have any name.
So
I don't have
Mexicans, so he
any.
probably taught you all the places that paid under the
No,
table because you're
they
not
are
technically
like
allowed to
us.
work.
They're like us, but but they're emotional as well. So because I used to be a protective of him, he formed a very strong bond with me.
Hmm.
All the foreign students would like. I don't know what you guys did, but with us, the Americans weren't that friendly. They were friendly there. They never invited you out or anything. So it was the foreign students who hung together, and
Hmm.
mostly the males like myself who didn't have anyone to turn to, etc. So we sort of hung together. Yeah. So then he took me to the Mexican embassy, and I was given a job where I had to sign my name on a Saturday for six
At
days,
the
from Monday to
embassy,
Friday.
so it had to be
Yeah, I didn't do
legal
anything.
then, or
It was
you.
legal. They just
Hmm.
needed more people to be on their books. $500 I got.
Oh, that's pretty
Was
awesome.
it $500 per month for 2 months? $1,000 I got. Yeah, I came home with more money than I left. Yeah,
Mexicans are the
because I was
best.
so careful. I used to buy those McDonald's deals where they would give you 3 for 1 and all on special Saturdays. Then I would, buy 9 burgers and keep it in the fridge. Then me and the boys would go on a Saturday where they'd have all their sales. You go to the yellow
You
pages.
should
I'm
have
sure
gone
you
to
did all
Taco
that.
Bell. Like
We did all. Of course, I
15
did
years
Taco
ago,
Bell.
like Taco Bell, for $1, you could get meat. That's just gross. I don't know what
In
is in there,
1994, I
but
used to get
in
this
94, you
Lebanese
could
guy on the
probably get a lot
street
more.
before Giuliani cleaned them up. The Lebanese guy on the street just outside our house on 48th. He was unbelievable because it was $2 and it was a huge meal and just white sauce, red sauce. That this conversation was, what you want? What you want? Okay. White sauce, red sauce. So then once he knew me, because third time or fourth time, then it was great. He would ask me questions like, "Are you Jewish? Are you Jewish?" So I said, "No, I'm Indian." "Are you Muslim?" I said, "No, no, I'm just Indian. I'm not of any religion." "Oh, okay. I don't like Jewish." This is 1994. I was
Mm,
like, "Okay, just give me the food. I don't want to get shot by an Israeli agent or a PLO guy in the middle of New
yeah.
York
Well,
for
that guy
nothing."
probably has a
Yeah,
big Facebook page now, so.
yeah. He must be having his own following. Yeah, Insta big hit. Yeah,
Okay.
but really tasty. Why do we segue there? What are we doing? Where's the conversation going? What's going on here?
Okay, so before you got roped into all your comedic roles, were you working more towards becoming a serious actor, like for theater and films?
It's not just well, even there, I remember I did a Julius Caesar parody where we had to make our own film or
When
something.
I say
It's
serious
been
actor,
done.
I don't mean not to do comedic roles. I'm just saying just
No, I just
really
wanted
into
to.
it for the acting.
I was just bored of people. I've done a lot of plays, and everywhere we go, they do the same thing about they block you. Stage left 2 steps, then deliver. It's too
Mm.
much of a craft. I fight the craft. Like I tell you, you have this concept of 2 hours. I don't understand the correlation of 2 hours giving you quality. I don't understand how time can lead to quality. For me, it should be just organic. That's the way I think. Whether you talk for 20 minutes or 2 hours,
So you don't like the
it's just the way it
technical
is.
parts of it. You
I
just
don't
sort
like
of
the
wanted the
craft when you
flow.
already decide. The word side means to kill, right? Suicide, fratricide, patricide, all that. So you're killing your art because you put this craft into it. Now I've got to the event guys. They always tell us, you do 1 घंटा 50 minute karega na, इसमें 20 minutes. It's not a maths. I think when you
Mhm.
turn to it to more like a maths, science, or a craft, you just kill art completely. So now I've lost my train of thought, but you know what I'm saying.
I went and dug out your parts from that movie Jalva, mostly because I wanted to see if you could keep
Oh,
a
that
straight
was
face while acting. And I was actually surprised because for a whole four something minutes, you really hung in
yeah.
there.
Yeah, but that was a very because I was 14, 15 at that point. So when the boys found out that Archana Puran Singh was quite the glam babe at that time, had hugged me or kissed me or whatever in one scene, they was just drive me nuts, man.
I
Can
did think
imagine.
you had like two moments where you almost let the Cyrus out, but you made it.
Yeah, wow, that was well before everything. I was just on a play called Brighton Beach Memoirs, and Nasiruddin Shah and Pankaj, what is his name? Gulanand, of course, and Pankaj Parashar, the director. How could I forget him? The three of them came and watched it, and they just wanted a fresh face. Ultimately, played a drug addict, which made no sense to me now when I look back in perspective. But yeah, but they thought I had an innocent looking face, which I had till I was 20. Yeah.
Hmm. But I have to say, for a kid for back in the day with no training and being Cyrus, you did a pretty good job. Huh? Your Hindi was definitely better than it is now.
No, मैं आपसा मार्केट चला गया था दीदी तुम्हें याद नहीं आज राखी है. I'm
It's
sorry.
the accent, I think. I think it
Yeah,
was
you get
way
to,
more
but you get to dub
authentic.
it now. You get to dub it. Even now, this film that I've done will dub all the bad pronunciations that happened. I'm
But are you
sure.
still looking to go like the acting route? Are you just looking for opportunities?
No, I like the mixing it up, because I did a film after a long time. It was so much fun because it's new. Then I did this Amazon thing with the comedians. Again, fun, new people because it's new. I think if you can just mix it up, it really makes life. Sometimes
Yeah, it keeps it
same old,
exciting.
keeps it exciting, and I think you come there happy. Your body language is happy because it's just new people and a new environment and all that really helps. So I have to be careful we don't fall into the sarkari naukri with our own show. But luckily it's only once a week, so it doesn't kill us. But we're looking at going daily, so let's see.
Were these comedic roles or the movies that you just shot for?
No, this one is actually not. In fact, they kept trying to, because it's a Netflix property which is being done in Hindi. So yeah, it's a
That's
whodunit,
good
believe it
though,
or not.
because I feel like one universal things film industries worldwide are guilty of is stereotyping. And while that's great for a new
Yeah.
actor because it means your constant flow of work
Yeah,
and
but
money.
the problem is when you relax on a set, once you're comfortable with everyone and you're not feeling anxiety of any kind, you sort of know your lines and whatever. The problem is that before they roll, we're chatting and we're laughing and making the most ridiculous comments, and then you have to go straight into something which is like shock and disbelief because somebody's murdered, etc., etc. So that was another, you know. But I like it that way.
But then that's where
Yeah.
your craft will help you, all that training at
Not so
Strasbourg.
much craft, but you just have to get into the moment. If you get it right, you get it right. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah, I mean, you're not
Yeah.
calling it craft, but it is.
No, I don't like the craft in the
I
sense
know
that
you
they
don't
should
like
move
your.
two steps right and look out of the window because
Okay.
you're doing it through thought. You're disconnected from your impulse. That's what I'm saying.
Hmm.
But if I understand, if he's saying basically he's looking out of the window and he's upset, if he just tells me that and backs off and lets me do it, so I put that in my subconscious and I know that and then it happens.
Yeah. Cool. Well, then this has been great because that was the last thing I wanted to ask you. So thank you so much, Cyrus, for speaking with me. And jokes aside, I know how crazy busy your schedule is, and I don't think you ever actually stop
No, it's
working.
not.
But anyway, I really appreciate getting to hear your insights and stories and interruptions. And I hope you also had fun.
I did.
All right. Thanks
All right.
again.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Welcome to the spokescript part of the podcast. So, that was something. I felt like my brain was running out of breath there keeping up with him. What can I say? Cyrus was everything I expected him to be. He's a riot, he is funny, he is witty, and he's really taken this humility thing too far. But he is. He is just so grounded, so nice, and so very kind. I mean, it must be hard to not be pretentious living where he does. I am also very, very excited to watch him get back to acting in the movies. Now, for some fact checks and corrections, I, in a hurry, mispronounced Charlie Douglas's name and called him Charles Douglas, but he is in fact Charles or Charlie Douglas. He is the inventor of the pre recorded laugh tracks, which then became the standard in mainstream television, especially in the US, mainly because the live audience's laughs could not be controlled or relied upon to appear at the right time or quality. So they used this physical machine called the laugh box that he invented to sweeten the recording. I'd like to end with giving a shout out to my brilliant writer and soulmate, also my tormentor and real life mentor in many ways, and really the science beneath my wings. Avantika Joshi, I am always in awe of your genius brain and passion for science, and you truly have been the best teacher I have ever had, till date, hands down. So, a big, big thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping me realize one of my longtime dreams. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like to reach out, you can find us on social media or write to me at speak@thespokemagazine.com or visit our website, thespokemagazine.com, where you'll not only be able to listen to the interviews but also read them, as well as enjoy a special uncensored video segment and some fun original photos taken by me. Our podcasts are available on all platforms, so be sure to join me on the next episode of Spoke Where Gray Matters.